Coming to you from his downtown Denver studio, here's the Backstage Jazz radio show with your host, Steve Roby.
Welcome to Backstage Jazz. I'm your host, Stephen Roby, and we're trying something new with this episode and doing it remotely. So you might hear some background conversation, some music. We're in a coffee shop today, and my guest today is vocalist and musician Laurena Frihauf.
Yeah.
Okay, I got your name right, yay. She'll discuss her upcoming solo album and performance at Dazzle on December 7th. Welcome to Backstage Jazz, Lauren.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't we start off with a brief overview of your musical background and who were some of your musical influences?
I grew up just around music. My brothers played all the time around the house, so I listened to a lot of what they did. Country, metal.
Bit of everything.
Yeah, and then my parents were a little more tame, so classic rock and like Tori Amos, Fiona Apple, those artists.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I kind of gravitated towards folk and jazz and indie. And then Joni Mitchell became a really big influence.
And you played some Joni Mitchell at Dazzle a few weeks ago with Milk Toast and Company. You opened up for them, did a solo performance there, which was great.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So could you talk about some of your musical experience? I noticed in your bio you've had some television appearance.
I was on The Voice in 2020.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was a weird time during COVID, but it was a pretty cool experience anyway, you know.
That's great.
I did the Latona EP with my friend Ben Suyat. It was songs that we had written in high school and, had played for so long, and then we ended up recording them like a year or two ago. Andy Sito produced it, and that was very neo-soul jazz.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, that's the last original project I released.
Good. Well, you sent over some music to share with our listeners. What can you tell me about this first track we're going to play called Fragments of a Stranger?
Yeah, that one is one of the first ones I wrote for the album, and it's actually the first full song I wrote on guitar. I'd been messing around with Open D for a while, and that's actually something Joni Mitchell had influenced.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I got into open tunings and I never went back to standard after that. So I wrote that in Open D, and it just it's one of those songs that came to me in one day. It just flowed really easily, and it's actually one of my favorites to play still. It's got a lot of kind of folk and jazz elements in it.
Good. Can you tell me about the title? What does it mean?
I was going through an identity crisis.
Haven't we all?
Honestly. I always just think of it as, trying to figure out where your center is in all the chaos in the world around you. Just trying to get back to that.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a reflective song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, let's give it a listen now. This is Fragments of a Stranger off your new upcoming album, which we'll talk about a little bit after the other side of the song. You're listening to Backstage Jazz.
How did I ever come to this? I got so comfortable being defenseless. Now I'm just another shadow, the soul machine. I had to fight my own mind to beat this honesty when I can't even spell out my own truth. And all my freedom, what did you turn into? So careful with the crowd, I don't know. I'm looking at what I see, a fragment of a stranger with no self-esteem. I tried so hard to convince them all I was complete, and I guess I've succeeded, 'cause all my fear, what if I turn into so careless with myself? I look so much like you. So restore me. Oh, restore me. restore me. Oh, restore me.
Well, Lauren, we're going to play a second track, unreleased, I might add, off the upcoming album called Broken Shrines. What can you tell me about this one?
So this one's actually kind of reflective too.
Okay.
Quite a few of the songs are. I guess that's just where I was coming from with this album. It actually kind of took me a while to figure out what it was really about or what it meant to me, really. I kind of sum it up now as just learning how to accept yourself even when you're broken, because nobody's gonna know what you're going through at all times, but you do, so you might as well be there for yourself in those times.
Good advice, encouragement.
Yeah.
Can you tell me who's playing on the track with you?
Yeah, so actually I have like several different players throughout the album. On this one I had Calvin Davis on drums, Zoe Moff on bass, and Alec Wenzel on guitar. And so Alec is my live guitar player. I think he's on 7 out of the 8 songs. And then for Fragments, seven songs besides Broken Shrines. Braxton Kahn is my live drummer. He's on there. And then Callum was kind of more of Callum Bear. He was more of a recent addition. So he's on 3 of the songs.
Wow.
And he's on bass.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Great. Well, let's give a listen to now. This is Broken Shrines. And is it okay to say the name of the title of the album?
Yes, absolutely. Shadows in the Soul Machine.
Okay, we'll get into that right after we listen to Broken Shrines here on Backstage Jazz.
So this is how it ends. I'm wrapped up in your armor, choking on all of my resentment. And this is the final breath of the stranger fogging up my glass, who I never even invited to stay. Nobody knows that you're praying in a broken shrine, and nobody's there waiting in the last hour, 2, 3, 4. So do you love me like this? A coward more afraid of her own reflection than of dying that way. But you can't reach her now. She's rising from the sunken wreck. You tricked her into becoming. You come with all your pieces, but I'm the one who gets played. You come with all your pieces, but I am ending this game. And nobody knows that you're praying from a broken shrine, and nobody's there, nobody's waiting until your last hour, your last hour.
You're listening to Backstage Jazz, and my guest today is Laurena Frihauf. We're going to get into discussing your upcoming album, which I guess is out in January?
So there's a single out in
Oh,
January.
a single out in January.
Yeah.
So this episode of the podcast is kind of a really advanced preview for your fans and our listeners who might be new to your music.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Shadows in the Soul Machine. Do you have a release date?
So I have a release date for the single.
Okay.
The album's gonna come out around August, September.
Oh,
But
wow. Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of drawing it out. You know, I'm kind of learning as I go with this whole release.
Right. Well, that's the way
thing.
you do it now, right? Single.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And there's just, I don't know, I couldn't pick 3 that I wanted to release as singles. So I'm just doing.
What's the first
so many.
single?
Fragments of a Stranger is the
Okay.
first single.
Okay.
So that'll be out January 19th.
Okay. Tell me about the album as a whole, Shadows in the Soul Machine. Let's start with the title. What does that mean?
Good question.
That's why I'm here.
You know, I feel like all of these songs kind of reflected these different parts of myself. And I think Fragments of a Stranger, the reason I start the album with that one is I feel like it sums everything up so well. You know, there's all these different parts of me that I'm trying to get to work as one, and all these different parts of my life, and just trying to figure everything out and who I am in the midst of all of this, you know? So I think Shadows in the Soul Machine, I kind of think of each song as these different little corners and shadows of my life, and yeah.
Well, tell me, how many tracks are on the album?
8.
8, okay. You got some interesting album artwork? I haven't seen the album artwork yet.
I do.
Is that coming along?
It is coming along.
Okay.
I had Seth Beamer take some photos. I have this like funky sweater that I thrifted for $10, and it's gonna be like plastered all over the promo for the album. And then my boyfriend Peter Schmizik is doing some cool like art over the photo. So yeah.
Nice. So it's coming along, yeah.
It is coming along.
Okay.
Yeah, we're almost there.
What formats are you going to release the album in? Streaming? Would it be a CD? Vinyl?
Actually, all 3.
All 3?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Wow. Are there going to be liner notes in the album?
I think so. I'm gonna try to do that.
Okay. It seems like there should be, since it's such a reflective album. Right?
Yeah.
Give the listener
I hadn't thought about that though. That's a good thing to think about. I was kind of hesitant about the vinyl because, you know, it's a big step. It's a big investment.
Yeah. But it's everybody's getting into vinyl now.
Yeah.
Or getting back into vinyl, I should say.
You know, I want it on vinyl, so I think that's reason enough to do it.
Of course. Plus, I mean, with the artwork too, it's something you can frame, it's something you can hold on to.
Absolutely.
And it's something you can sign.
Yeah. It's physical.
Great, yeah. So let's talk about the show at Dazzle. It's coming up on December 7th.
So I'm bringing the live band. So that's Alec Wenzel, Callum Bear, Braxton. Those are my guys. They're amazing. And we're gonna play all the songs from the album. So all the new stuff.
In order?
I haven't thought that far ahead,
Okay.
but that's a good idea.
Okay, I just thought maybe there was like a theme or something like that.
Yeah, all of it's gonna get played at least. Though.
Okay.
We'll do a couple holiday songs as well, probably a couple from the Latona EP. So it's going to mostly be an original showcase, yeah.
So the members on the album are the same ones that are going to join you on stage, or is there a little variation?
Yeah, all 3 of them do end up on 3 of the songs together because I finally, finally figured out who I need in my live configuration. And so, yeah.
Oh, great. A reminder for our listeners, Laurena Frihauf will enter trio. Will appear at Dazzle on Thursday, December 7th for a 6:30 p.m. show. Doors open at 5:30. For tickets and more info, visit dazzledenver.com. Before I let you go, Lauren, can you tell our listeners where the best place to go online is to discover your music, your upcoming shows, website, social medias?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is my main source that I use.
Yeah.
But, Spotify is great, any streaming service, Facebook. I keep them all up to date.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's can you give our listeners the address for your website?
Yeah, it's just LaurenFrihaufmusic.com. Yeah.
Okay. And it's spelled Frihauf for them too?
Yeah, Frihauf. Yeah.
Great, okay. Well, thanks for your time today. Have a great show at Dazzle, and I appreciate you coming out to a public coffee house. My equipment is in the shop for a couple of weeks, but I found a way to do this at a remote setting. Thanks for listening to Backstage Jazz.
If you're enjoying the Backstage Jazz Show, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And now, back to the show.
The Backstage Jazz Show was recorded at Little Raven Studios in downtown Denver, and our producer was Craig Stevens. You can find Backstage Jazz wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to stop by our website, backstage-jazz.com, where all past and current episodes have been archived. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email us at backstagejazz@fastmail.com. This is Steve Roby. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Backstage Jazz.
You've been listening to the Backstage Jazz Show. Join us next time for more great jazz and interviews with your favorite musicians.